Hello and welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Geneva Subdivision. My name is Daryl Cruz. I am the owner and builder of the layout. And once again, your host for this video, which is episode 18. This episode is on the BNSF switcher in Rochelle. Most, if not all, the industries in Rochelle are located on the BNSF main line. And so in order for the Union Pacific to access those industries, they make use of the interchange track between the BNSF and Union Pacific. So this video is basically one half of a normal day's operation on the BNSF switcher. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the most entertaining jobs to do if you are ever operating on the layout. Definitely a lot of, if you like switching, this is definitely the one that I think you would enjoy the most. So what we have here, before I get too much into what's going on, want to invite everybody to make sure you watch to the end of the video, because at the end I'm going to have some footage of the actual prototype BNSF switcher operating in Rochelle, so you can kind of see a little bit of the real thing and see what I need to add to the layout when you see the difference. So what we're looking at here is some tank cars and one reefer car that has been dropped off by a Union Pacific train. There are two trains that stop in Rochelle, two Union Pacific trains that stop in Rochelle, one going eastbound, one going westbound, and each of them pick up and drop off cars at the interchange track here close to the Del Monte plant. So the westbound train has already been through, and it picked up some cars and dropped off them, the three tank cars and the one reefer. So the BNSF switcher's job is to take those cars and distribute them to the appropriate industries. Now we're still on the interchange track here that goes right by the crossing. Notice it's going through the signal bridge, but there's no signals for its track, so it can just go on through. I think there is a dwarf signal somewhere along the line. I don't have that modeled, but maybe we'll do that somewhere down the line. All right, so here's a view as it approaches the overpass in Rochelle. That overpass is scratch built. I had to give a lot of thought on how to get those piers just exactly right. I think they are laminated styrene. I think I have 3 or 4 sheets of styrene that I laminated. Figured out the pattern somehow or another. I think I took pictures of the actual piers and then translated that pattern to the appropriate size. I did that a long time ago. So now we're on the BNSF track, which also has 2 tracks. The BNSF line is a single track through Rochelle, but it also then there's a siding. So there are 2 tracks through Rochelle, although the line through Northern Illinois is actually a single track. All right, so here's the industries in Rochelle. You have basically 4 of them. You have the cement plant, which is a generic kit. Doesn't really represent anything in Rochelle. I just kind of liked the cement plant kit, and I like the short covered hoppers to carry the cement. And then the Heinz Lumber Total Logistics Control, which you'll see just a little bit, and then the BP Oil. So the first cars we're going to drop off here are the 3 tank cars. Will be set out at BP Oil. I kind of hesitated doing this op session because there's really not there's a lot of work to be done yet in Rochelle, but it was requested quite a bit, and I also thought, well, I can do this ops video, and then when I get it all scenic, I can do another one and kind of see it operating in both ways. So this is the BP siding. I have some unloading and loading facilities that I purchased from Train Cat. They're etched metal kits that I'm going to be building and putting those here. And then the oil tanks, which are across the tracks, really should be here on this side of the tracks, but there's no layout on this side of the track, so I'm putting them over there. I'm not sure if I'm going to figure that the piping is running under the tracks or if I'm going to run pipes over the track. There are some pipes that run across the BNSF main line in Rochelle, and I have some pictures of those, so I might maybe follow something along those lines. Not really sure what I'm going to do. Alright, so we have the oil tank, the tank cars dropped off as the intermodal train goes through. As normal, I have 2 trains running, one westbound and one eastbound. And I just kind of keep those going while I operate, just to kind of keep things interesting. This BNSF switcher 6744 is a Cottle model, SD40-2. It's the late version, so it has ditch lights, and I think it's either air conditioning unit or a radio antenna on the roof. A very nice model. Cottle never came out with a late version in Union Pacific for some reason. Alright, so now in order to get this one reefer to Total Logistics Control, which is a cold storage facility, we have to do a crossover to get into the other track. I'm not real sure which of these 2 tracks is the main line and which is the siding. I'm sure somebody out there knows. But I know that BNSF is a single track through here. Just to the west of Rochelle, it goes back to a single track. Haven't really gone eastward to see when it goes to a single track east of Rochelle. I know it is a pretty long siding though. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and spot this car at Total Logistics Control. So that warehouse there is a kit built by a company that is no longer in business. They were not in business very long. I can't even think of the name of it. But I think this is the only kit that they came out with. It's a very, very nice kit. They had to reduce it a little bit to fit the area. And then I also added some Walthers dock doors. Walthers came out with a very nice warehouse, and with the warehouse they had some really nice dock doors. And one thing that made them really nice is that they had the padding around it that they use in the colder areas to, when the trucks back into it or the railroad cars pull up next to the doors that they can extend these this padding or whatever and kind of make a seal between the truck and the building. And so anyway, Walthers had this as part of their warehouse kit, and then just recently they came out with where you can buy just the doors without buying the whole kit. So I bought some of those and added those doors to the Total Logistics Control warehouse. Definitely helps the look of the kits. Alright, so now we have all the cars dropped off, and we are now going to then collect cars for the next UP train that's going to be coming through. So we're going to be picking up some cars from Heinz Lumber right there, and then also from the cement plant. I kind of changed views here a little bit so you can actually see the car picking up the covered hoppers from the cement plant. You can see once again I have the throttle on the screen. The BNSF switcher is 6744, that's the top one. And then the 7098, I believe that's the intermodal train. And then the 2578 is the manifest train. Alright, according to the switch list, the only cars that we need are the TOE box car and the 2 cement cars. So we're going to go ahead and pull all the cars out, and then we're going to be putting the rail box car and the flat car back on the siding. The couple of those kits that you see there are kind of interesting. The gold color one is a laser wood kit. Can't remember what company makes it, but there's a hotel, a really seedy hotel in Rochelle that does hourly rates, and definitely is a very low rent hotel. So that's there to represent that. The gray building, I scratch built that to represent Patterson Lumber. That building is still there in Rochelle. I'm not sure if Patterson Lumber is still in operation or not. And there we see the manifest train going through. And then there's a kit bashed model there that looks like it has wood in the windows. I kit bashed that out of, I think, I'm not sure what kits I got those from, but there is a building there that's kind of has the, looks very much like that, has the plywood in the windows. I think it's still used, but they didn't want to pay to have the windows replaced, so there's just plywood in the window. So I kind of kit bashed that and put some balsa wood in the windows to kind of represent that. Alright, so here we're putting the rail box car and the flat car back. You can see some trailer houses there in the background. There are some, there's a little neighborhood of trailer park houses also in this area of town. And then you can also see the passenger station. That passenger station I kit bashed a long time ago after a passenger station in Independence, Missouri. That was back in the 90s when I modeled the Union Pacific line through Missouri. So that's there. There is actually a abandoned passenger station in Rochelle. That I shouldn't say it's abandoned. They don't use it as a passenger station anymore. I think the UP does still use it or still owns it. When I lived there, they had a fax machine in it. This was back in the 2000s. But they had a fax machine in it, and the trains would stop sometimes there and get a printout of the instructions for dropping off and picking up cars. I kind of doubt they still do that. Alright, so now the BNSF switcher has the cars that it needs, and it's going to go ahead and pull those back to the interchange tracks. You can see that real nice Trainworks semi and cow hauler. You do see a lot of those in Rochelle, although they're usually pigs in them. There's a Rochelle Foods that slaughters pigs in Rochelle, so we see a lot of those trucks. Do not want to get stuck behind them. All right, so here it's going from the BNSF tracks, and now it's onto the interchange tracks. So there's where the transition takes place between BNSF and the interchange track. That kind of warehouse looking thing, building there, I scratch built that also to you know, I take it back. I think that's a modular. I think Walther's modular that I built to kind of represent the actual building there. It's being torn down right now though, so I'm gonna add parking lots and so forth, so it's going to be kind of still in use on my layout. As you can see, I just recently put in roads and a parking lot here. Still need to do some touch up yet to get the you can still see some white plaster. I need to put in some gravel along the edges of the parking lot, and probably some more weathering and striping and so forth. Alright, so it has the cars from Heinz Lumber and from the cement plant. It still needs to add some cars from Del Monte. So as you can see, there's a reefer car there in Del Monte. So we need to pick that one up, and I think there's also a car in the yard, the interchange yard there, that also needs to be tacked on. Alright, we'll go ahead and throw this switch and pick up the reefer. You got a good shot of seeing the points move slowly. Now, if you really wanted to do this a little bit more realistically, you would kind of wait a little bit longer there, and for the guy to wait for your brakeman to get off of the locomotive and walk over to the switch and throw the switch. Those are, since they're off the main line, they're hand thrown. You have to light up the switches, excuse me, you have to line up the couplers a little bit. The Del Monte plant there I scratch built a long time ago. The actual Del Monte plant is huge. I have just one track going into it. This plant, there's I think 4 tracks that actually go into this huge Del Monte warehouse. Did not have room for a plant quite that big. Yeah, it's not really a plant, it's a warehouse. In the background there you can see another Trainworks semi-truck with a pig hauler. I definitely, I have 3 of those. You see so many of those going through Rochelle. When they came out with those, I was like, I gotta have at least 3 of them. I did hear that Trainworks is going to be coming out with another semi here fairly shortly. I think they had some issues with the Chinese manufacturer, but I heard that they're close to coming out with another semi here pretty soon. If you try to pick one up on eBay, they're really expensive. They're going for probably 2 to 3 times what their price was when they first came out. Right, my arms blocking the view of the intermodal train. All right, and I think we need just one of these rail box cars. And of course, it's not the first one, that's the second one, so we'll have to put the other one back. As you notice on the intermodal cars, I do have the containers fairly mixed up and not all blocked together. That definitely does look a lot better. I'm glad somebody mentioned that in the comments. Looking towards future videos, one of the things, probably the next thing I'm going to be working on is continuing to add roads. If you notice the trucks in the background there, need to put some roads on there. Need to install some roads there. And then, of course, to get from those roads to the roads on this side, there needs to be a road going across the tracks. So that's probably the next thing I'm going to be doing is doing that crossing where the locomotive is right now. And then just basically putting down a bunch of roads here in Rochelle. Make sure, if you haven't yet, to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As I am working on the layout, I'm going to be, posting progress on Instagram and Twitter. So if you kind of want to follow along as on a day-to-day basis, definitely want to do that. My username for both of them is UPRR Gen Sub. I hope to be doing some of that work already this week. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday I might get started on that. Alright, so we put one of the rail box cars in the track to be picked up, and we'll go ahead and then put the other one back. Looks like we have a manifest train going through again. And we'll put the reefer back, and now we have all the cars ready to be picked up by an eastbound UP train. The next operations video will probably be that eastbound UP train that will then pick up these cars and drop some off. And then after that, I might do another ops video showing the BNSF switcher putting those cars away. So kind of, hopefully we will be kind of a progression to show completely how things operate in Rochelle. As promised, here is some video of the prototype in Rochelle, the BNSF switcher, and you can see him in operation. One thing that you will notice that I need to add a lot of is trees. There's a lot of trees all around this area. My layout in this area has pretty much 0 trees. So once I get all the roads in and so forth, I have to add a lot of trees. Here also is proof that the grade in the interchange track area is as steep as it is on my layout. Here you can see a Union Pacific train backing some cars into the interchange track. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm not sure when it's going to be, but maybe a midweek video, but definitely on Sunday. Have a great week. Take care.